talk about it with somebody.
I know, but you said it was good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
For people that are fans of the franchise,
Sure.
you'll love it. My son, he was just like, "Oh, Dad, I hated it." I was like, "Yeah, well, you don't like the Matrix either."
Right.
Oh, you never liked the original?
Yeah.
No, he was never really a fan.
But she slide back over that way.
Right here? Okay.
And it
This is
hasn't
mine.
done well. What do you
No,
want?
it hasn't.
Which is, it's interesting, right?
So where-
Why it didn't?
Let's see.
It's hit or miss right now.
Let's see. How
You know,
much?
I think it's because it's been so long in between movies that the people, like the
It doesn't
hardcore
help.
fans, it's just more niche.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
true.
So,
No, where-
but oh yeah, Spider-Man was good as well.
Well, I mean, what,
Hey, Michelle.
1.4 billion so far? Alone? Crazy. I'll never forget that when I first saw the first Matrix.
I walked in with actually such low expectations. I was just like, "Oh, this looks kind of cheesy," and I walked out. I'm like,
That was cool.
That was awesome.
It was all very pleasant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got you close.
Also, I'm reshuffling my things for January and February, so let's work out a date and get you back.
Oh,
on.
yeah, that'd be cool. Let's see.
And yeah, I love the cool Matrix thing.
Oh.
I was like,
I was.
Hey, hold on. Are we
Blown
on?
away.
Are we live already?
what live?
It's funny. I was.
Let me get your phone.
Oh.
How close do I need to be? Should I be just like this?
Here.
Yeah, you need to be pretty close, but you don't have to be that close.
I usually say like this, but
Okay, so let's see. I would speak into it when you can. Michelle, real quick, can you come over here, Sal? Let me see. How that is? Let's see. Hey, Chad, if you get an opportunity every now and then. Okay, Michelle, that's it. That's good. Go back
right.
over there.
Lowering the volume of your phone.
oh, is that mine?
Yes.
yes.
Over here.
For January 15th, and they'll waive your new member fee. So you'll save another $170 right off the bat. Call now. You'll get a prize within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is January 15th, so you can save even more. Call 877-64-BIBLE. That's 877.
Give me count to 5 there, Chad.
877-64-BIBLE.
Vice President Kamala Harris says America is moving again, as she put it, but if car and truck sales are any indication, it's moving in the wrong direction. Ford today announced it sold just under 2 million vehicles last year, a 7% decline overall. The news comes on the heels of yesterday when General Motors was displaced by Toyota as the #1 selling car in the United
Michelle,
States.
30 seconds.
Today marked the 11th day in a row that more than 1,000 U.S. domestic flights were canceled. Through mid-afternoon,
Hey, Chad, give me count to 5.
been scrapped. It's the industry's worst stretch since early 2020.
Okay, you're good. Michelle, give me count to 5.
Closing lower today, the Dow Jones Industrial.
James, stop fidgeting and sit down, buddy.
This year's Grammy Awards, which have been set for January 31st, have just been postponed due to fears over possible exposure to Omicron at the ceremony. Please join me 3 times each.
Here we go, guys.
Right here on this station. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded. It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I tell you, my great producer Noah, how has your day been so far?
You know, it doesn't really matter at this time because the energy that's going to be exuding from this show with one of the most dynamic people that I know, and yes, I'm going to just say his name flat out, Chad C.R. Stewart in the studio. Man, I'm excited. This is going to be a great show, JC.
I am excited, my friend. And Michelle, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited as well.
Well, Noah, I had to beat you to this because I see you got your finger on the trigger. Guess what day it is, Noah? It's hump day! Woo-hoo! Hump day!
Now, as we always do each Wednesday, maybe Michelle's been practicing, maybe she's ready. Michelle, can you beat this man right here?
Yes, I can. It's hump day. It's hump day. It's hump day.
Yeah, JC, you were a 9, but I got to give her 10 out of 10, buddy.
You know, we got such a wonderful guest in the house. I wonder, can he do a hump day?
I cannot.
That was quick.
You know, I tell you, listen to the audience, just like Noah mentioned, we got the one and only Chad C.R. Stewart in the house tonight. And I tell you, you're getting ready to get a lesson learned. And the next generation, I don't like to say that we like to compare this with or anything, but no, you know what I'm talking about.
You know, it's completely original. In other interviews, we've talked about it. We've compared it to other things. But Britfield, as I've said on my show numerous times, when I first connected with Chad, it is a movement. It's more than just a book series. It's about educating children on the power of creativity and why that is so important as they launch whatever it is their careers are going to be. And people can check that out. They can go to Britfield.com. This man is on a mission, and it goes well beyond the books.
And he's on a mission, and a lot of people, and I'm going to say this, Chad, but a lot of people like to say, hey, you are the next generation of the Harry Potters, all this other time. I mean, all the things that was happened in the past, because your movement is the future. And so I just want everybody to know that I'm so excited to have this guy as a guest. I'm talking about, he's been on my show before, but I wasn't in studio with him. And this time we got the absolute pleasure of having him across with me, and my great producer Noel. I just see him through the window. It's just beaming, and
there's the energy. I mean, like I said, he's one of my favorite people to talk to because he's got a great heart, not just for what he does, but for the children, which is the future of America.
Wow, you know, I can't wait to get this thing started. So listen to the audience. If you want to be part of this great conversation, that's 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Michelle, first of all, can you tell our listening audience the title and the purpose of tonight's show?
The title of tonight's show is Chad Stewart's Britfield book series, movies, world tour, and product lines. And the purpose of the show tonight is getting to know the background of Chad C.R. Stewart, discuss the Britfield series and the theatrical launching of Britfield and the Lost Crown, discuss the Britfield World Tour, and talk about the Britfield Institute.
Can you please introduce this great guy to our listening audience?
Yes, Chad C.R. Stewart was born in Newport Beach, California. He's an award-winning and best-selling author, international strategist, prominent speaker, and creativity educator. He founded the prestigious Britfield Institute, a nonprofit dedicated to creativity and literacy, and Devonfield, a media empire committed to the highest quality in education, publishing, and film production. He received a Bachelor of Arts in British Literature and European History from Brown University, earned an MBA from Boston College, and is pursuing a Master of Science in Advanced Management and a PhD in Creativity and Innovation at Claremont Graduate University. Now based in San Diego, he's a strong supporter of education and the arts, professor at Furmanian School of Business, Point Loma Nazarene University, and past president, board of directors of the San Diego Ballet. The Britfield Institute is committed to bringing creativity into the classroom, promoting literacy, and fostering a child's imagination. Impacting all demographics, we provide students, teachers, educators, and the schools the opportunity to read and write with passion while inspiring critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. The Britfield Institute is providing underprivileged schools and children resources, workshops, and opportunities. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, proudly welcomes back Chad C.R. Stewart.
Chad, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing wonderful. I feel I don't have to even say anything. You guys could just keep talking because you're just doing such a wonderful job here.
You know, hey, Chad, man, you was on the show, I think, back in August, September.
Yeah.
And last time you was on the show, you was telling me about you was on this 23-state tour teaching, educating.
Yes.
And I think you did that in, 23 states in a certain amount of days.
Well, 9,000 miles, it was over 18 months, and it was 9,000 miles, 23 states, over 180 schools, and more than 40,000 students. So
wow. You know, so
that's great.
Wow, so you was doing all that in 2020, but you also had a absolutely fantastic year in 2021. Can you tell our listening audience a little bit about what Chad Stewart was doing and still doing
Sure.
going from 2021?
Real quick, too, Noah, did anyone watch the Rose Parade?
Now, you know what? I actually normally do.
Yeah.
Not this year.
Okay. I wanted to say that I'm thinking Britfield float next year.
Okay, we need to make this happen.
I'm serious.
I'm on board.
I could visualize the whole thing. All right, but anyway, no, 2021 was good. I think for a lot of people, it was a hard year, but it was a very challenging year, and it was a really extraordinary year. I finally, literally, as of Boxing Day last year, day after Christmas, I finished up Britfield and the Return of the Prince, which is book 3 of the series. And it's almost 600 pages. So that was a huge accomplishment. And then we continued our virtual tour. So as we were talking before we were doing the driving tour, coming to schools, we switched to virtual, which was great. And it worked, and it was a lot of fun. So we did quite a bit of schools and everything from Florida to Colorado to Oregon to California through the virtual tour. And just amazing things. We refined the team. We refined our focus. We really have built what I would consider a media empire now. And really for the last 6 to 8 weeks, I've been ready for January 1st and launching into 2022. This is our year that we will really take it. So I'm excited.
Wow, man, the way you explained that, and I love the idea of a Rose Bowl float, Britfield.
I can see it.
So you are so passionate about what you're doing. Right before the break, we got about 2 minutes. Can you tell our listening audience where you get this drive, and why are you so passionate to make sure that we educate our youth, young adults, and everybody, in making sure that they are able to create and think out the box and just be able to imagine, because they can do anything that they set their mind to?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And where do I get my drive? I think I've always had a passion for creativity, and so many thoughts went through my mind. But it's interesting too, because we'll talk a little bit about creativity. But now it's really coming into the light, and I've been a creativity proponent for 5 to 7 years, knowing how important it is, knowing that the United States is in a creativity crisis, and yet now you're seeing it. In fact, there was articles out there, like everything from Forbes to Harvard Business Review to you name it, saying that 2021 was the year of creativity. I've done a lot of other interviews with some experts in tech and education, and they're saying that we are right now in a creativity revolution. I thought that was a fantastic quote. And so everything that I have been preaching, if you will, and pushing and trying to get creativity back in the classroom is really now coming in to full focus. And you're starting to see where before you'd see incredible articles, but you only see 3 or 4 out a year. You're seeing 30, 40, 50 articles coming out. People are finally getting it, how important creativity is. And I can back it up with proof, but creativity is the number one most important skill in the world.
I want you to hold that thought, because we got to take a station break. Listen, audience, if you want to be part of this great conversation, again, that's 1-888-344-1170. We got Chad C.R. Stewart in the studio tonight. I tell you what, call in, be a part of this great conversation. It's your life. I'm James Cool. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of
Sounds good, and I'm dibbing question 4.
Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on
You better speak first.
Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
The J.C. Cooley Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was started in October of 2014. The J.C. Cooley Foundation continues to strive to expand its programs and offerings to the youth, young adults, and citizens of our great communities nationwide and overseas. We hope that you'll be able to take part in one or more of the many exciting events that we are offering this year and experience firsthand the pride we take in supporting our cause. It's our mission to equip the youth of today for the challenges of tomorrow, and we rely heavily on the generosity community of individuals and business owners for support. Without the assistance of community-minded individuals just like you, we wouldn't be able to serve our youth each year. We ask that you make a commitment to support our annual appeal by making a cash donation. This year's goal is $50,000. Your generosity will assist us in making a difference in the lives of the youth in our community. You can give online at CooleyFoundation.org. Remember that every donation makes a difference regardless of size. The J.C. Cooley Foundation thanks you in advance for your contribution.
Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet. The true life coming of age story by James J.C. Cooley. Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural deep south town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and
James, that
books are
special
sold.
Facebook comment
Have you been denied
may
a
be
home
calling
loan
in
or
to the show.
refinance because you're self-employed, earn 1099 income, or even a real estate investor?
Yeah.
You're missing out. Most lenders make approval seem impossible.
Oh, I just got texting confirmation.
Stop
So
watching everyone take
it's happening.
advantage of the lowest mortgage rates in history while you're stuck on the
Oh, always. I got connections.
Accelerate Capital, the premier lender designed for the self-employed. Our approval process is based on common sense, using bank statements, 1099 income, profit loss statements, rental income, or even stated income to qualify at the lowest rates available. Fast. Conventional lenders cannot do this. When others say no, we say yes. 800-391-3117. 800-391-3117. Or visit acceleratecapital.com.
Back in 15.
AccelerateCapital.com.
Equal housing lender. Call for details. NMLS ID number 1165716. Not all will qualify. California DFPI license number 41DBO45150. Additional restrictions may apply. Loans made or arranged pursuant to the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act.
The Answer San Diego, streaming now on TuneIn.com and Odyssey.com.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I tell you, I'm just over here giggling, excited to have
Question is, James, are you tickled pink?
Well, you know, I was getting ready to say I'm tickled pink, man, because, you know, and Noah, you know, you and I talk all the time. It's just so exciting to actually get a chance to meet this young man face to face. Now, he and I have talked on the phone several times, and it's always interesting, and it's always to get an opportunity to meet him face to face. And I read some of his first book, got his second one right here, and I listened to it. You might want to go out and get these immediately. And finishing up the third one. I think it's 7 parts to this, but we'll talk about that. We'll give him an opportunity to talk about this one. But if you want to be part of this great conversation, that's 1-888-344-11. Just like I'm saying, we got Chad, C.R. Stewart in here. Chad, right before we went to the break, you was explaining some of the things that you was doing in 2021 that's leading you into the new year. Yes. Where we at today? Can you pick up on that?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say what's interesting is that I know it's two ways to look at everything that's happened, and I've looked at it as a positive and trying to find the opportunity in it. But I think what's happened over the last 18 months, and I've said it before, is that we're in an education reformation, and that's a good thing. We've seen an explosion in the homeschool market from 5 million to 15 million and growing, and that will continue to grow. And parents stepping up and homeschooling their own kids. It doesn't mean necessarily that one parent has to stay home, because the whole homeschool world, there's tons of opportunities. There's homeschool groups. You can drop them off just like you drop them off to school. And I have found that the homeschool kids are the best educated kids I've ever seen. I've found, 16-year-olds that are already taking college classes. They're well-rounded. They're well-spoken. They're curious. They're creative. And they're leaders. And so that's exciting. We're also seeing a revolution in business. And some of the stats are saying, back to the education, they're saying 30 to 40% of parents won't be sending their kids back to schools when everything officially opens up. That's huge. And we're seeing those same statistics in the business world, that 40 to 60% of employees will not be returning to work. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll be quitting their job, but they won't be going back to, if you will, the cubicle or the institution, but be working from home, or it could be a combination. And I think that's fantastic. I think that's amazing. That's exciting. I think they'll be 1,000 times more productive, and they'll have a fuller life. And so we're already seeing those things happen. We're starting to see an explosion in entrepreneurship. And to me, that the micro businesses is the new model of America. And these big corporate tanker ships are going out of style, and they're not going to be being able to maintain an industry edge anymore. And so I think that's exciting for anyone that wants to start their own company, any entrepreneur out there, anyone that has the creativity spark to do something. The opportunities in the last 18 months to 24 months have exploded. And I also mean that just for everyone, from artists to writers to singers. There are so many markets, avenues, and opportunities to make a living, if you will, and to potentially be successful. So those are some of the things that I've been mapping, charting, researching, and I've been with a lot of other experts, and it's exciting. Everything to me right now is exciting because everything is aligning with what I believe in, and that's that entrepreneur spirit. That's the American way.
Wow, well put, my friend.
Chad, as an author, what is the hardest thing about writing?
Yeah, I would say discipline. And people are always saying, I want to write. Where do I start? And it's really you start writing. But it's discipline. And like book 1, Britfield and Lost Crown, it took me 4 years and 2,500 hours to write. Book 2 took me 3,000 hours and 5,000. 5 years and 3,000 hours. And then I just finished the first finished edited draft of book 3. Now I was a lot more quicker with it. I spent a lot more time on outlining it. But it was 18 months of dedication until that last page was finished. And so it's hard. And, every morning I get up, and I think this is for most writers, it's not like I'm on fire, at 7 a.m. in the morning and I want to write or edit. But you do it and you stick to it and you give yourself goals. And sometimes I don't feel like it, but I'll say, I'm gonna edit or write from 7 to 9 no matter what. Or today we're going from I'm gonna hit at least 3 pages. And you have to give yourself those mini goals. Sometimes you're on fire and you can write for 3 or 4 or 5 hours without stopping. But it's just discipline. And it's that way with anything, with any expert, any field. They always say the difference between a hobby and a profession is about 8,000 to 10,000 hours of committed, dedicated time. That's very true. They say, the difference between success and not is anywhere from 1 to 2 decades, or every overnight success takes 1 to 2 decades. And that's true too. And so my dedication to writing, my discipline, my focus, my commitment is the same thing for sports, for any other profession and hobby. But discipline is the first word that comes to my mind.
You know what I'm excited about, Chad, and we've talked about this, when I first met you, that it was going to happen and it was a possibility. Well, now it's a reality. This Britfield series of books is becoming a movement into the realm of cinema. And I know that there's there's plans for all seven of them to be feature-length adaptations, but the first one is in the works. What can you tell us about this actually becoming Britfield and the Lost Crown, an actual movie that people can enjoy on the big screen?
Yeah, I'm excited. From day one, going almost 10 years ago when I started book 1, if you can imagine, this was seen as a movie. This was very visual. My background is a scriptwriter, and then eventually got into writing the fictional novels. I think about 90 to 95% of the people that have read the story, we're talking tens of thousands, have said it, feels like a movie, it reads like a movie. I feel like I'm in a movie, and a lot of that is just probably from my experience as a scriptwriter. But I'm very visual, so we're excited. We have 2 producers that are signed on to make this into a major feature-length movie. I know the budget's going to be around anywhere from 80 to 100 million for the film.
Has there been a studio picked yet?
We're shopping it right now with 3 majors, and that's all I can say right now. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to find the right fit. I can't say any more than that, but I'll leave it there. But yeah, so I think we'll probably have an announcement by March of the actual studio. I'm hoping that pre-production would start could be in summer. And then production this coming fall, if all goes well. I'm hoping that at least 70-80% of the movie will be shot in England, and I think it will be, and it needs to be. And just back to the budget, the thing is, 80 to $100 million. This could be a $200 million type of budget movie, but it's not needed, and that's what makes Britfield Lost Crown great. Number one, it takes place in present time, and number two, it's really all story. and characters. And so it's like you don't have the James Bond, which I'm a big fan of, tons of scene changes, explosions, stunts and all that kind of stuff. You just really have Tom and Sarah, two orphans that have escaped from Weatherly Orphanage, and they're just trying to get to London and have freedom. And so it's a very great visual story, and you can get away with $1 million shots of England without having to cost millions of dollars. So.
Wow. Chad, you and I was talking about a play based on your book.
Yes.
That you're working on. I don't know if you want to mention that, but sometimes when we are doing movies or plays, a lot of the content kind of get lost because we're trying to tell a story and we only have a limited amount of time to compact all of the key storylines into a movie or play. Yes. You got one coming up soon, I guess in 2022. Can you tell us how you're going to try to make sure that all of the major points are in your plays or in your scripts or in your movies?
Yeah, and I'll say one thing is we own the entire rights for Britfield and Lost Crown, which is great, and the entire series, so we control the creative control. With my producers, they work for me. I don't work for them. And so we'll have an airtight, bulletproof contract with the studio. And it's always difficult, but the point is there's no gain for them to deviate from a story that is solid and hugely successful and what everyone loves. And there's no benefit to them. And at the end of the day, they are concerned about the dollar. And they also want Britfield and Lost Crown to be as successful as possible so all other 6 movies can follow. I will say this, that I believe that Britfield and Lost Crown movie will be one of the most successful films in cinematic history, rivaling the original Star Wars and E.T. in live-action family movies.
Wow. I mean, just reading what I have read in Britfield, The Lost Crown, man, it's so exciting. And that it's kind of hard to put it down once you start reading. But I tell you what, we're going to take an early break because we got a special caller on the line.
Love it.
When we return, I tell you, listener audience, if you want to be part of this great conversation, that's 1-888-344-1170. Let me say it one more time. That's 1-888-344-1170. We got Chad C.R. Stewart in here, and the show is It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley. We will be back after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
There is much truth in a journey that ain't over yet, as all of us journey through life's precious gifts or times, just like I have. Hi, I'm James Cooley, host of the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And
that's why I've been in radio since the earth cooled.
City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet. You can join me as I share my true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale.
You won't be able to tell.
To achieving the American dream. This is a must listen to for anyone who think they're stuck in life or need to understand that their current situation is not their final destination. Country Boy.
You have my better half on the line.
Truth to provide.
That's fine. That's fine.
By challenging you to refuse to become a victim of life's circumstance and dare to be an overcomer.
Oh, you saved 2 minutes. We got a lot of time in this next segment. Yeah.
That's what I was at.
Yeah, we'll have a little over 12 minutes.
Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet on Amazon and wherever audiobooks are sold.
The J.C. Cooley Foundation continues to strive to expand its programs and offerings to the youth, young adults, and citizens of our great communities nationwide and overseas.
If you can, challenge, if you can keep Chad to 30 seconds, I'll buy you dinner.
We ask that you make a commitment to support our annual appeal by making a cash donation. Your generosity will assist us in making a difference in the lives of the youth in our community. You can give online at CooleyFoundation.org. The J.C. Cooley Foundation thanks you in advance for your contribution.
I just told James, he's like, okay, we're going to come back and I'm going to wrap up with Chad for 30 seconds. So I just told JC, if you can keep Chad to 30 seconds, I will buy you dinner.
Okay, 1 minute.
It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question.
You're gonna bring it back, Cammy.
They believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discounted to only $19.95 to see if it will work.
Got it.
800-500.
Back in 30.
ReliefFactor.com.
Cultural Marxism is spreading like wildfire in America, but did you know that this so-called woke ideology is also flooding into the church?
Reparations fits into the scope of the gospel.
Watch the documentary How the Left is Stealing Your Church and discover how the ideology behind critical race theory and the LGBT agenda is being smuggled into the evangelical world. Stream it now for $9.99 or get the DVD for $12.99. Go to salemnow.com or look for the Salem Now app.
FM 96.1 and AM 1170. The Answer.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I know you mentioned that I was tickled pink. I think I'm tickled. Yes, I'm excited. I'm extremely excited, and
it's hard not to be when you got Chad here.
It is. You know, and listen, to the audience, I see that we got a lot of you guys listening in tonight, and I see you on Facebook as well. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, because we got just such fantastic guests. And if you want to be part of the conversation, that's 1-888-344-1170. Chad, we was chatting right before the break, and I was asking similar to, how do you make sure that you keep the correct content, especially when you're doing plays, film, or script?
Yes.
So can you finish up on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish up because it is a great question. And I think one of the problems that so many people have had too, when they read a novel and then it's transitioned into a film, it loses a lot of the key scenes or the flavor of it. And we will keep that under very, very tight wraps. And I think the book will be extremely true to the movie will be true to the novel. And I would say this too, that I think in some ways, I love the book, but I think the movie will even be better than the book. And I say that because everything will be so visual. And so I might describe Yorkshire or Oxford or Windsor Castle, but in the film, it will come alive.
Wow. Just like I said, I'm excited, and listen, audience, you see a couple of them in front of me. You might want to get out and get it immediately. I tell you, we got a great caller on the line, and Noah, you want to introduce our great caller to our listeners?
Yeah, I think the best way to introduce the caller is it's my better half. And so it's my girlfriend, Cammy, who is a teacher, and she helps shape young minds. And Britfield has become a part of her world and her students' world. So, Cammy, thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Cammy?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, since we got you on the phone, I think we're absolutely wonderful.
Well, I'm basically calling to just fangirl. I found this book because of Noah and James, and when I got a copy, read it in a day, and the entire time I read it, I imagined it as a read aloud. I teach actually math to middle schoolers, but still do read alouds regularly. 65% of my students are English learners, and just so much good comes out of read aloud, but they are obsessed. We are partway through the first book, and it's built into my daily schedule. And this book has led to the students connected with the characters instantly, and it has led to conversations of ethics and justice, and they're making connections and predictions, and I love how your chapters end with those cliffhangers. Every time I close the book, I get that collective groan and the no, just a little bit more. And my students are working diligently in class in the hopes that we have enough time at the end of class to add another chapter in. So they're so excited. I'm partway through the second book. I've been reading it on my winter vacation, but thank you. These are just, I am so thrilled that I found them, and my students and I have had fun going through the website, and just really, really great literature to be sharing with them, and so easy for them to connect. They are really, really hooked in and invested, and that's not the easiest thing to do with middle schoolers. So.
Wow. I mean, all of that was just wonderful. And I think the thing that stuck out the most was that they could connect with the characters. And that's what's so interesting and, for me, important about Britfield Lost Crown was, number one, it takes place in current time. Number two, it doesn't have any of the heightened fantasy or the witchcraft or any of the other stuff that's saturating 90% of the market. And it's just a fresh, real book that kids can relate to. And so that comment was great. And it's funny, my sister's actually a math teacher. So, but the fact that you're taking the time out and reading the book to them, I mean, that's awesome. And thank you for doing that. I love that you guys are using the website, because that's kind of how it's designed. It's fun because, you can describe the pictures, but to experience it. So,
wow.
Yeah. And for most of our students, they just don't have, a world frame of reference, and, still not even truly solid on the difference between states and countries and continents. So being able to pull up the website and look at maps and look at historically, accurate information and pictures and geography, just really enhances all of that. I love that it's all of those resources that just add to the reality of the story. And as much as it's entertaining and they're enveloped in that storyline, it's really neat to be able to also show them that these are real places that exist in current times and make those connections also.
We also have a 83-page study guide for free to teachers based on national standards, so it can always be taught chapter by chapter. I was curious, do you have a favorite scene yet? You're about halfway in.
For the second book, you mean?
No, for book one.
For the book one. No, I finished all of book one.
Oh, got it.
My
Okay.
students haven't, but I have. And then I've been through, you can ask Noah. I hate favorite questions.
Oh,
I'm one of those people. For me, it's just the character development going through, and without giving anything away for people that haven't read it, I think now as I'm reading it to my students, I'm going back. You know how when you watch a movie that has like plot twists or surprise endings, and then you go back and you rewatch it to look for clues? That's the point I'm at right now. There were, without saying it, there were things at the end that you go, wait a minute. And now reading it through the second time, I'm looking for those clues and seeing how that builds up. I have one student, he's a voracious reader, and he bought the first and second book and already read them.
Wow.
And he actually brought the second book into class on one of the last days before break when we were having a math test. And he says, you have to start reading this while we take the math test, but don't gasp too loud when you read the first chapter, okay?
I love it. Wow.
So I love that there were so many things that you question as you read, and you go back and forth wondering about the characters and their intentions. And as it wraps up, there's those aha moments. And I love that the end of the book is enough that I feel satisfied as a reader to have enough of a storyline closure to not be left hanging, but also knowing that there's so much more to come in the next book.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that, too. And you have to kind of do that. But it feels like book one just opens up the whole story in the background, and then the adventure, it obviously continues in book two. But another thing that you said that I really liked was that it's opened up all these questions for debate, about ethics and rules and laws and all those other things. I love that. And that's really that's what it's intended to do. It really is packed full of that. I mean, you could spend a week just on chapter one talking about the factory, hence the workshop at Weatherly Orphanage and how the Grievuses act, and the different kids and how they help each other in the family and all that. And so,
wow. And Cammie, thank you so much.
They want.
You know what? I'm not going to put him on the spot, but if his schedule, if he have a little time in his schedule, and if you invite us in, if he can work it out, I'm willing to come in, and hopefully, if he have time in his schedule, to surprise
I'd love to
your
do that.
class
Yeah.
one day. Hopefully, when I'm back down here in February or March, if he have time in his schedule, and we invite him.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. I'd love to come in and we could do a Q&A session or whatever. So more than happy to do that.
Wow.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Cam.
Chad, Britfield and the Lost Crown, they have launched a product line. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's interesting, everything that's going to eventually branch off Britfield Lost Crown.
I'm ready.
One thing is we've developed the Brittfield Tartan, and we're in the final stages. And so the tartan is like the royal tartan, and so if you think of the Stewart plaid, the Black Watch, or if you think of Burberry, that's actually a tartan. And so it's the first of many Brittfield tartans to come. We're in the final refining stages. That's kind of cool. So that'll be on, all the different products and T-shirts and, sweatshirts and all that kind of stuff. We're also developing the Britfield Christmas Bear, which we were boy and girl. And so she'll have like the sort of kilt dress on, and he'll have like the shirt. It'll be really cool. And it's not just sort of a gift to buy, but we're looking to give out thousands of those to orphanages, hospitals, for children's wards and things like that, and make Christmas just exciting with the Britfield Bear. But another product is our play that would fall under that line, and if we have time, we can talk a little bit about it because it's interesting. I'm in the thick of it right now. I'm actually in the process of translating a book into a play, and the play is a theatrical play. It's specifically for middle school, and eventually will be developed into a musical for Broadway, which will be cool. Because you can see that, but it's very interesting because plays are very different. There's three categories, and for any children's play, it's 30 minutes or 30 pages. For middle school, it's about 60 to 70 pages, and then for sort of college or mainstream, it's about 90 pages, which would be an hour and a half plus breaks. And so ours is coming in around 75 pages. So that is very difficult, because I have got to cut more than normal, and it's very interesting because this whole thing is designed as for a movie, and so the stage is very different. And but we're excited. If we have more time, we can dig into it. But I'm working with 2 experts on it right now, and I'm excited. I'm having so much fun with it. I spent the first week outlining it, figuring out number one, how many scenes are there going to be? What are the scenes that you absolutely have to have in this to tell the story? How many minutes or pages will that be? I'm actually hitting it right on the mark too. And the breaks, and then really I started this week writing it and just going through. And it's funny too because a lot of you have read the book, and the caller that we just had read it, and I'm having fun going back and reading my own book, because it's been a while since I've read book one, but I'm reading sections, and I'm actually finding myself laughing at the dialogue or the scenes or the setups. I mean, just laughing. I'm like, gosh, this is great, or this is funny. You know what I mean? Or gosh, that's a great comment. But it's interesting because whereas a film is visual, a play is words. Words is what drives it. It's not so visual. It's you might have a background, you might have a little bit of a stage and stuff. So we actually already have a school. It's Mission Viejo Christian School that's lined up to launch this in mid-October, and that's sort of our pilot school. And I'm talking with Michelle, who's their director of theater, this Friday, and I've already talked with her, and so she's going to be one of the pivoting points in this because she is in the trenches. She teaches this, she directs it, she casts it. This school's great because it's very arts oriented and they're very theater oriented. They have about 150 kids that come out for every single play, which is a lot. It's like wow. But we're designing it to the play where a lot of the actors will have speaking parts. Indecent speaking parts. There's Tom and Sarah, there's the main characters, there's probably 7 main characters, but the orphans will be playing, roles throughout. And then what's kind of great, just to give you a visual, is when Tom and Sarah are in London, the orphans will be, dressed in sort of, if you will, London clothes, carrying umbrellas or something. And so they'll be part of the whole play, even if it's background and movement. And they'll also have moments where they can do a monologue describing something. So it's going to be a very, very fluid, active. It's very interesting too, because I'm designing the play or the theatrical play as a film, really, and it will have visuals and sound effects.
Wow. Hey, hold on to that thought. We're going to take a station break, but this is so exciting. We're going to come back, and yes, you will have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the play that you're writing. And I tell you, you want to be part of this conversation, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's Your Life. I'm James Coley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley. The J.C. Cooley Foundation is a nonprofit organization that was started.
You want me to ask him back to back, or
The J.C. Cooley Foundation continues to strive to expand its programs and offerings to the youth.
Yeah, 9 minutes. Do you want me to ask him back to back or 2 in 1?
Nationwide and overseas.
Got it.
We hope that you'll be able to take part in one or more of the many exciting events that we're offering this year and experience firsthand the pride we take in supporting our cause. It's our mission to equip the youth of today for the challenges of tomorrow, and we rely heavily on the generosity of individuals and business owners for support. Without the assistance of community-minded individuals just like you, we wouldn't be able to serve our youth each year. We ask that you make a commitment to support our annual appeal by making a cash donation. This year's goal is $50,000. Your generosity will assist us in making a difference in the lives of the youth in our community. You can give online at CooleyFoundation.org. Remember that every donation makes a difference regardless of size. The J.C. Cooley Foundation thanks you in advance for your contribution.
Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet. The true life coming of age story by James J.C. Cooley. Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural deep south town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, a journey that ain't over yet by James J.C. Cooley.
So you want me to do I can either do 2 in 1 and then do the world tour, or I can just do 1 and then the world tour.
Insurance?
Up to you.
What if you could make one
That's fine.
phone call and learn your
Yes,
price
that's fine.
from nearly a dozen highly rated, price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For a free quote, call 800-523-3771. That's 800-523-3771. 800-523-3771. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, insurance company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Streaming now on Enter San Diego app and Odyssey.com.
It's time to dream big, think big, and be big. It's time for more It's Your Life. Now, here's your host, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm James Cooley, and I tell you, if you're listening to this show, you are witnessing history. And you will see in the next few years what I'm talking about. We got the fantastic Chad C.R. Stewart here that's telling us about his series, or which he has booked in 7 books that he is going to be writing and turning all of them into movies and plays and scripts, and just like he had mentioned, Broadway and Hollywood, all these things. I tell you, you're witnessing greatness. So remember that name. Remember Britfield. So if you want to be part of this conversation, that's 1-888-344-1170.
Well, before I go any further, no matter what I ask here, it's not going to be as good as my future fiance would have all that depth that she brought to the airwaves. But let's move right along here. Back to the movie really quickly, yes. Chad. I'm curious, when you started writing the first one, Britfield and the Lost Crown, did you have, as you were writing it, any actors in mind for who were going to play the characters? And now, as the movie is coming into fruition, is that maybe changing a little bit, or you still have those visions of those actors in your head? What's going on with that?
I still have the original visions, which is interesting, but working with the producer, one of them, Sam, and he's wonderful, and he's done the research, and he's starting to, put together the right actors, for the roles and stuff. So that's helpful. But no, I've always seen Colin Firth as Detective Gowerstone, and it's interesting too. I watched Bridget Jones' Diary last night again, and it's like, oh my gosh, he's so perfect. But I see him because he's got that refined quality. It's kind of like a smoldering eruption waiting to happen, if you will. I see Bill Nye as Professor Hainsworth, and if you've ever seen Love Actually, one of my favorite movies. He's that rock star, that burned out rock star, and he would be perfect for Hainsworth. But there's a couple other good actors that would fit the role. And then we actually, this is actually for movie one, Oliver is a small role. If you guys, whoever's read it at Oxford, Oliver comes back in book 2 and 3 for major roles, and so we've already tagged an actor for him. If you've watched Queen's Gambit, the actor with the mustache. Can't think of his name, but he was actually in Love Actually also as the young kid.
Oh yeah, I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah.
I loved Queen's Gambit. That's a great casting.
Yes, and Sam brought that up, and I thought, bingo, that is Oliver. And so yeah, those are some of the key ones. And then for some of the other character actors, I definitely have some ideas. They're kind of the classic British character actors that you'd be very familiar with. They've been in, like, if you will, 30 or 50 films, and they're sort of veterans, and they'll be a perfect fit for this. But I will say this too: it's what's fun is obviously as an author, as you're continuing the series, and just finished book 3, which was a lot bigger and longer than I thought. It's a lot of fun because it's I get to develop the characters, and it's like with one book you can only do so much. And as Tom and Sarah, what's great too is as each book goes on, Tom and Sarah are 12 in book 1, they're 13 in book 2, and 14 in book 3. And to me, that's huge. That's a very dynamic shift from 12 to 14. Or
huge jump.
Yeah, it's like 2 decades, right? And so they are different, and they act different, they think different, and they're a lot more mature, and they've gone through what they've gone through, as you've read, and they're wiser, and so that's a lot of fun, and the relationships as you build those. And I don't know if you've read book 2 and stuff, which takes place in France, which is exciting. But I introduce Inspector Fontaine, who works for Interpol, and she's an awesome character and exciting. And I don't want to give anything away, but there's a bit of spark between her and Gowerstone. And so anyway, yeah.
It's exciting. I can't wait to see where, as we get closer to summer, how these things come together. It's definitely going to be something to watch. Now, I know past the movie, this is going to get big because we're going to be doing this world tour. You're going to be doing this world tour, the Britfield World Tour, planned for 2022, probably through 2024. What is that all about, and what does it consist of, Chad? Yeah, very excited about it. We're going to be wrapping up our national tour this year, or this semester, you could say, probably through April. Probably mostly virtual. And then we've got our first tour planned. It's 6 weeks. It's in Great Britain. And so we'll be in England for 3 weeks. We'll be in Scotland for 10 days. And then we'll be in Ireland for 10 days. I cannot wait to get to Ireland. We are going to light that on fire. And then obviously England goes without saying. We'll also be there for the London Book Fair, which we'll be showing very prominently. And then Eastern Europe, 12 countries in the fall. And then from there, we'll the following year we'll be in Europe, and then we'll go to Asia, and then we'll end up in South America. Is the world tour going to be virtual or in person? Oh no, it'll be absolutely in person. That's great. Yeah. Love it. No, fair enough. Yeah, and a lot of it depends, of course, on what's happening. The tour will take place. It just depends, on the critical conditions. Right now, it's madness in England. I have a sense that in Eastern Europe it won't. I know that Poland and Hungary are very conservative countries. They're not drinking the Kool-Aid, and I think there'll be a lot more flexibility there with travel, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Yeah, and so I think Eastern Europe, we're going to light Eastern Europe on fire. We just sold the rights for Britfield Lost Crown and Britfield and the Rise of the Lion to Poland, and so they'll be publishing it in Poland along with a lot of other countries. And so I love Poland. Poland's going to be our base while we're in Eastern Europe. And then, of course, we'll be hitting Czech Republic, we'll be hitting Austria, Vienna, we'll be hitting Romania, and a lot of other different countries.
Chad, can you tell us a little bit about Britfield and the Return of the Prince, Book 3, launching in June of this year?
Yeah, I'm excited. So it's going to be launching June if all goes well, and it's got to go through 2 more edits and then 2 professional edits, but those should go pretty good. We're on a clock. Again, you talked to me about writing, and so it's interesting when time becomes the factor. But I'm excited. And Book 3 takes place in Italy, and Book 3 is my crescendo. Book 3 is my 9th symphony. It's almost 600 pages, but believe it or not, people will read it in a weekend. It's tight, it's fast paced. You got 3 parallel stories, huge character arcs, huge character development. Obviously, we're hitting the 3 main cities in Italy: Florence, Rome, and ending in Venice. Venice. Yeah, and I'm excited about it. In fact, this morning I've already got the first sketches from my graphic designer for the cover of book 3. I've had the visual for about 6 months, and so that cover will be done about a month.
Wow. We down to about the last 2 minutes of the show. But I have to ask you this because it requires forward thinking to actually already in your mind have written all 7 books.
Sure.
Where do you get this inspiration from? I know you just finished book 3. You got book 4, book 5, book 6, and book 7. But you already at the finish line on where you want to be with this. With 30 seconds or less, but can you tell us where that inspiration comes from?
This is the dinner thing, Noah. 30 seconds here. But no, I've always known the countries, but unlike other authors, I don't have the whole story worked out in a nutshell. I take it book by book. But I will say this, that what's really great is when I come to a new country, that helps me write it, because I figure out where in that country do I want to go. Like obviously with England, I had Oxford, Windsor, and London, key cities, and that helped kind of frame the book. And then you come and you start to research that city, and you get all these different ideas. Like with book 3 in Rome, I was in Rome a lot longer, but it's like, how do you leave Rome quickly? So I've already got a little bit of book 4 mapped out, but I don't know until I sit down and I start to outline.
Wow, I tell you. Yeah, we down.
By the way, on that I owe you both dinner.
We down to the last minute of the show. Real quickly, how could people get your books, get in touch with you, just understand, but primarily buy the books because they are absolutely fantastic. Can you tell a listener?
Yeah, these are all first editions too, and we'll be going into second and third. And as you can imagine, we're actually on parallel to outsell Harry Potter in the next 8 to 10 years. We will actually outsell Harry Potter and potentially be the most awarded and best-selling children's fiction book in history. So, but you can go to Britfield.com. Britfield.com, Britfield, Britfield.com website. Check it out. You'll love it. You can get the books there. Amazon, we have the hardcover, softcover, ebook, and audio.
Wow, my friend, thank you so much. You know what? We got to do this again.
Yes.
And look at my producer already.
Infinite parts. He's always invited back. I'm raising the roof back there, man.
Yeah, so I want to thank you for taking time.
That was wonderful.
To come on the James Cooley Show with your life. So I thank you, my friend. We will have you back in a few months if you have time.
Yes.
And I know, hey, Cammy, I'm going to try to twist his arm to get him in there. I mean, I don't know. This is a very busy man. You know that.
Well, I got you.
Yeah, and I like to thank my wonderful, fantastic co-host who's always doing all the heavy lifting. I like to thank my great producer, Noah Dingley. I like to thank Salem Media and all the bosses here that gave me the opportunity to do this. Most importantly, I like to thank my listening audience for tuning in every night. I tell you what, we're always looking for sponsors so we can continue to bring this great message. It's your life. I'm James Cooley. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.
Thanks for joining us for It's Your Life with James Cooley. To learn more about James, how you can support the show, or become a guest, visit CooleyFoundation.org. Join James weekdays at this same time for more motivation and inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been The James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, where you learn how to dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do.
It's your
Facebook family. I tell you, this guy right here is absolutely fantastic. You just witnessed history, a part of it. And I tell you, you want to go out and get these. You're going to see them in the movies. You're going to see them all over the place in the next couple of years. I mean, this year, but you're going to see them all over the place. I mean, worldwide. And this great man right here, you heard him on the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And if we can get him back in here, if he have time, we're going to have part 3 coming up real soon. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about book 3 and ideas for book 4 and just all the great things that he's doing. Hey, Chad, you want to say anything to our listeners? Before?
Yeah, just I'm excited to be here. It's a privilege. I love James. He is an awesome, enthusiastic, and amazing person, amazing man. And Michelle, his wife, they took me out for dinner tonight. It was great. We had about an hour and a half to talk before the show. I love that. I love that personal touch, and it's just great. It's great. I love kicking off this year, the first week of this year, with James and his show. It's the first interview I've done of the year, and I'm excited. So it's the right
you know
place.
what? I want to thank my great producer, Noah Dingley. He's not going to come on camera.
He's the man.
But he's right here.
He
was, I call him the fella that introduced me to this great guy. And I tell you, it's an absolute pleasure working with him. We're doing some great things. We've got a lot of fantastic guests, especially like this young man right here. So I tell you what, I hope you enjoyed the show. Share it with all your friends. Go out and get these books. Get them. And I tell you, we're going to close out right now. Michelle, you want to say anything to our Facebook?
No, just, well, actually, yes. Get this book. Get the Britfield books. It is amazing. And share it with your family, not only children, but it's an amazing book. And
yeah,
have a great time.
Half our reading audience are adults. So, truthfully.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time. Same place. Tell you, not same place because we will be back in our home studios in Texas tomorrow. Oh, cool. See you tomorrow. It's Your Life. I'm James Cody.